I had to touch them, had to stick them for them dividends. Black Power fam. What it is. Y'all go in and come in the room. Come in the room. We can start when there's like 5 people. Let's go. Hit that, hit that. Black Power Elliot, what's going on? Today, we talk about anime in a revolutionary perspective. Let's get it. 3 people, 2 more people, let's get it. Like, share it on all those nerdy pages, share it on all those Black Power pages, share it on all those leftist pages. Let's get it moving. All right, we got 5 people, let's go. Black Power, y'all. Hopefully, y'all had an awesome holiday. We back at it again with another episode of Proper-gander, brought to you by the Black Hammer organization. It's your boy, Comrade Rob, and today we're getting into an anime that has a lot to do with colonialism and imperialism, and is actually one of my favorite shows, or one of my favorite animes in recent memory. It's called Code Geass, but before we get into that, I want to talk about Proper-gander as a project, because a lot of people been talking that shit, and I'm fucking tired of it. So I know a lot of leftists want to post like, oh, they're anarcho-Maoist, syndicalists, blah, 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 but people don't want to hear that. The people aren't at that point where they want to talk about revolutionary theory with y'all. What you're doing is talking amongst yourself and whoever's in your party and whoever may be in your same kind of political orientation. So Proper-gander is where a revolutionary can talk about normal day-to-day stuff. Movies. We love movies. We love video games. We love comic books. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. That's where the masses are at. So I'm here to bring a revolutionary outlook to things that are relevant to people in their day-to-day. You know what I'm saying? At least people with specific interests like that. You know? So Proper-gander, we analyze contemporary media through an anti-colonial, anti-imperialist, and anti-capitalist lens, because we understand that no matter what media it is, video games, all that stuff, is created in a political context. So the political context will be reflected in the media itself. The media itself will contain ideas pertaining to the political context. And right now, the political context is, how many times can I say political context? Is rampant colonialism, deadly capitalism, and never-ending imperialism. And we're here to expose that in every single thing that we do. This is a series brought to you by the Black Hammer organization. We are a revolutionary organization dedicated to the liberation of all colonized people, that is Africans, indigenous people in the Americas, indigenous people to Indochina and Asia in general. And yeah, besides having a presence on social media and making web series like this, we also have the Oh My Ghazi Morning Show. We also have the Revolutionary Book Trap Sundays at 11 a.m. where we review and talk about very awesome books. Right now we're reviewing How Europe Underdeveloped Africa by Walter Rodney, a must-read for any revolutionary out there. And we also have Boots on the Ground, y'all. We've organized protests. We do regular food drives. The list goes on. Matter of fact, we got a clothes drive happening in Baltimore because I know it gets really cold, and people, I don't want to just say like homeless people, but just really distraught colonized people are left in the cold, you know what I'm saying, because of this vicious capitalist system. So we're doing a a clothes drive with like jackets and stuff like that, and we're also doing another Atlanta food drive January 28th, and the clothes drive is in Baltimore, and that's happening January 26th, so look out for that. Shout out Diva, shout out DP, shout out Kimya, shout out Cam. What's happening, y'all? So yeah, getting into this Proper-gander. This is exciting for me because if you know me at all, you know I fucks with the anime, bro. Since I was a jit, I've been watching anime. I've been watching Dragon Ball Z. I've been watching Sailor Moon, all of that type of stuff. And little did I know that that was kind of shaping my worldview in a kind of way. Black Power, Sid. So understanding what I have like now, like a revolutionary understanding. Looking back, anime is 100% a catalyst for a lot of propaganda. However, we can't examine looking for propaganda in anime because it's produced by Japan. We can't examine it with the same lens knowing what we do about America, because Japan has its own kind of history and its own kind of messages that it wants to play out. But as much as people really love Japan, they want to go to Japan and like do Dance Revolution, you know what I'm saying? Be like, hi, you know what I'm saying? Like do all that shit like that. Like, we have to understand Japan has a very serious imperialist history. Ask China, like I believe at certain points the whole like South like Indochina was imperialized by Japan, like the areas that surround like the Philippines before the Philippines was even like considered like a whole thing, you know? So realistically, from like 1868 around that time, and Japan had like serious imperialist agendas, you know? And I guess that's not like that in itself is not that different from America, but how it manifests is it's different, because America is a product of white supremacy and you know what I'm saying, like colonialism of the European sort. But Japan was the colonial power for a while in Asia. Ask the Koreans, you know what I'm saying? Like even right now they have a very growing you could call it like a fascist movement, and they're like rampant capitalists, you know what I'm saying? Like, and capitalism needs imperialism to survive. So knowing all that, it just takes like a kind of different lens to look at Japanese propaganda as opposed to American propaganda in its form of nationalism. So starting, I believe, after the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings, like Japan, like it was like a rising like comic book movement, because people need media and people need movies and things like that as a catharsis, like a way to escape the harsh realities of real life. And that time for Japanese people was very hard because they just got fucking nuked twice, you know? So during that time, that's when like manga was getting more popularized, so it was like a way to escape, and that's how we know that's where anime came from as we know it today, you know what I'm saying? It started with like Astro Boy comic books back in the day, and they would talk about like technology or whatever, because there was, after they were destroyed militaristically, there was a push for like industrialization in the country. So, and obviously we can see that in contemporary times too. Like now Japan is like an advanced technological country, you know what I'm saying? But that all came from that push for to rebuild it from the imperialist attacks, you know? So what I mean to say by talking, what I mean to say when I bring that up is that media always has that underlining propagandistic quality. You dig? Like, it may have been to rebuild the country in a more technological way then, but according to a different context, is going to take a different shape and form. And like anime, as much as I love it, you know what I'm saying, it has like it has this kind of weird, like pro-cop, pro-fascistic organizing quality in it. And just to point some examples, you know what I'm saying, there's Hitalia, the Axis powers. If you've seen that, it's like a anthropomorphic like countries, pretty much like people that represent countries or whatever. And Germany is like the main character in that. So like, and yeah, it kind of gets into some like weird Nazi shit. Ghost in the Shell, like, although there are some notions about it where it's like, oh man, like spiritual and stuff like that. Ghost in the Shell is about like this like super police unit, you know what I'm saying? And it kind of normalizes those functions. And even Dragon Ball Z has some propagandistic values too. Like if you remember Oolong the pig, who would like transform. Oolong first came about and he was dressed as Mao Zedong, and Japan was defeated by Mao Zedong. You know what I'm saying? So it's funny that Dragon Ball Z would depict someone in Maoist garb as a pig who would like steal women and stuff like that. So that being said, anime is a catalyst for a lot of propaganda coming from the East, namely Japan. You know what I'm saying? Can y'all think of any other examples maybe that you had grown up with? Y'all let me know in the comments. But getting to Code Geass, I want to read a quick synopsis so like people who maybe haven't seen it can get like an idea at least of what it's about. So it takes place in an alternative timeline where a military organization called the Holy Britannian Empire, which it's on an alternative timeline. It's still Earth, you know what I'm saying? But like the countries are different. So the Britannian Empire is pretty much the Americas, like the whole Americas, and they dress like Europeans and shit. Like they invaded Japan. They essentially colonized Japan, right? And it follows a exiled Britannian prince, like a prince who was part of that colonial power. His name is Lelouch v. Britannia. His mother was brutally murdered in a palace, and like right in front of his sister, who witnessed the murder. You know what I'm saying? Like Lelouch became really angry with his father because he believed that his father, the Emperor of Britannia, killed his mother on some like, you know what I'm saying, on some like mob kind of fuck shit, you know? So because Lelouch was like suspecting that, his father sent him to the newly colonized Japan under a false sense of security, you know? Japan was pretty much like obliterated, you know what I'm saying, or defeated militaristically. And when Lelouch went over there, he became friends with a Japanese person named Suzaku. Suzaku's motherfucking important in this, you know what I'm saying, in this story. Suzaku was the son of the Emperor of Japan, who pretty much got like destroyed by Britannia, you know, and he vows that like he will destroy Britannia one day, you know what I'm saying, and like Lelouch and Suzaku have like this animosity toward the Britannian Empire, right? So now Lelouch is older, and he's a student at the Ashford Academy, which is just like a bougie ass school in Japan, but owned by the Britannians. Lelouch becomes involved in a terrorist attack because there's still kind of like a war going on with the occupying force. He meets a girl named C2, who saves his life from a Britannian royal guard, and the girl grants him like this magic power, right? It's called the Code Geass. It's also called the Power of Kings or whatever, and it allows him to command anyone to do whatever he wants as long as they're like looking at his eyes. Yeah, there's some rules to it, and Lelouch becomes this mass vigilante and the leader of a resistance movement called the Black Knights. And his resistance movement gets popularity among the Japanese because they represent liberation from him. And he sparks his rebellion against the Britannian Empire that, you know what I'm saying, is occupying Japan. But, you know what I'm saying, like, there's like a whole bunch of conflict, obviously, as the story goes out. Like, it's just like a basic plot synopsis. But it turns out that while Lelouch is making this like rebellious kind of rebellion against Britannia, his childhood friend Suzaku actually joined Britannia, thinking that he can destroy or change the nature of the Britannian Empire from the inside. We've all heard that before. So yeah, like you know what I'm saying? Like, that is the basic plot, and of course there's like a whole bunch of crazy stuff that happens. Like I said, I love this show, and it's really because the way that they show colonization is actually pretty on point, which is super weird because, like, knowing that Japan has this kind of imperialist history, it's so weird that they know all the harm that they've done to whoever they colonize, like the Chinese or the North Koreans or South Asians and stuff like that. But they go into a lot of details. In Code Geass, there are ghettos. There are places where Britannian people who come from prosperous families be scared as fuck to go to. Like, it's this one like little mousy girl with the glasses who like gets all scared and shit. She's like, "Oh no, we're on the train? No, this goes through the through this area. No, I don't want to go through there." It's like that really mirrors how colonizers feel in certain areas. Like, no matter where you go to, and that includes America. You know what I'm saying? Like, wherever colonized people live, the colonizers are afraid to go to because the poverty there creates like crime, and they also have like those myths of the violence of the colonized people. Another thing is that they once they defeat the Japanese militarily, they strip them of their nationality. They cannot call themselves Japanese people anymore. They dehumanize them by calling them 11s. So what does that sound like? You know what I'm saying? With the ghettoization of their land and stripping them of their national identity and calling them something that dehumanizes them, what does that sound like? What does that sound like? You feel me? So Japanese people are derogatorily called 11s in this colonial situation. There's also a sellout class that is evident in Code Geass. You know, Suzaku, Lelouch's best friend, who joined the ranks of the Britannian army, is an example of that kind of person. I believe his father was no, his father wasn't a sellout. His father was real. But yeah, another example of a way that they mirror the colonial situation is the guerrilla army that Lelouch eventually unites with. You know, they use guerrilla tactics. They use like rinky-dink shit, you know what I'm saying? Like little bombs until they can get up in that motherfucking mech, you know? Like, they steal the mechs from the invading armies, just like the way that the Vietnamese people would steal the AKs from the invading American armies. They would steal the mortars and shit like that. So that kind of depiction is super on point. Another reflection of the colonial condition is that there is rampant drug use amongst the colonized people. There's a drug called like some shit. I forget what it's called. But what it do is like when you take it, it makes you remember the old times. It makes you forget what's going on, and like it brings you feeling of like nostalgia. So it brings you to a time before you were colonized. So that drug is like rampant, and there's even guerrilla warriors whose families were taken away or are drug addicts of that kind of drug, you know? So all these things are evident in real life, you know what I'm saying? Like once the African people were taken off Africa and brought into the Americas to be free labor, you know what I'm saying? They were pushed into ghettos to separate them from the general occupying populace, you know? Like nasty, disgusting kind of words that are meant to dehumanize the African or the indigenous person. Like you could think of a million. Like I don't even want to say it. I don't have to say it. You know what like white people are known to call indigenous people or African people, or generally anyone who's not white. It's a dehumanizing process, you know? There's also the evidence of the sellout class, you know what I'm saying? Like the Obamas, the fucking Cory Bookers that unite with the occupying force, you know what I'm saying, as a means to like put down rebellion, to make people think like, oh yeah, we could be like Cory fucking Booker, you know? And of course the drug use, the illegal drug economy is evident in every colonized nation, you know? Like, I think it's crazy that Japanese people like this, the people who made this like have like a pretty sharp understanding of the political ramifications of colonization, but they don't unite with revolution. And you can tell by the main character, who is Lelouch. Lelouch is a fucking genius. He like plays chess and shit. You know what I'm saying? He's like that anime character who you can't beat at chess, and he's like bored with school because he's just too like smart for it. And he ends up uniting with the guerrillas, who the guerrillas are part of the people, you know what I'm saying? Like Lelouch comes from the oppressor class. So there's this kind of, just from him being a part of the oppressor class, there's like a kind of savior mentality that they're proposing, as if he's better than the people in the ghetto. He like came and saved them, right? So he has that kind of quality. He joins the guerrillas, and through his tactics and also the magical power that he got, he leads them into lots of victories. He steals more mechs for them. He gets like the best kind of mechs. He lures them into traps, and he slowly whittles away at the Britannian army, you know? But Lelouch is pretty much like whatever imperialist country thinks of revolutionary. Like the same way America depicts Fidel Castro is the same kind of like attributes that are given to Lelouch. Like, or let's say like Stalin, right? Like they're like, yo, this man was drunk with power. All he wanted was power. He didn't care who he stepped on. He used people as pawns. You know, Lelouch, who was the leader of this rebellion, he has these attributes. You know, and it's obviously from the imperialists' perception of things that like that someone would want to do this kind of thing, that someone would want to liberate. There's like, oh, they don't really have people's interests in mind. He just is drunk with power. Lelouch kind of gets off on being like smart as fuck. Like once he gets people into traps, he'll like do that evil anime laugh type shit. He'll be like ha 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 ha, and like go off like all wildin' and shit to show that this is more of an ego thing for him. His comrades, who I just spoke a little bit towards, like the girl with the pink hair, like her mom is on that shit, bro. Like she saw her mom all fucking drugged out in like a drug den. So she became like a revolutionary to liberate her mother, but he don't give a fuck. Like, he literally does not care about the liberation of Japanese people. He just is motivated by revenge for what his father did, which is like just so crazy to me. Like, Lelouch is like a textbook case of what imperialists think revolutionaries are. Like, whatever they propagandize revolutionaries to be. And it's kind of sucks because, like, you want Japan to be free, you know? But you know that this dude only has his self. Then on the other side, wait, hold on. Revisionist. What do you mean?
It's basically just showing like how like they try to revise history and like.
Yes. It is a revisionist kind of telling of history and a revising of what revolutionaries aim to do, you know? So on the other hand, let me also get back to Lelouch real quick. Lelouch, his character is dressed in black garb. Like, when he is Zero, the hero of the people, he is dripped in black. To obviously, like, black, the color is kind of like akin to darkness, like something who thrives in the shadow, or evil. You know what I'm saying? That's how his character is coded or like colored in. Like, literally, his robot is black, his cape is black, his mask is black, his hair is black. Even when he's at school, everything is black. So you see that they associate him with evil, even though he's liberating a people. Like, regardless if he is kind of trash, like if he's trash in this show, he's liberating the people regardless. On the other hand, Suzaku, who betrayed his people and united with the Britannian army, you know what I'm saying? He's drenched in white. His robot is white. Like, he's like humanized. Like, he's supposed to be like a kind of like moral compass, low key, because he's like, nah, bruh, I want peace. But it's such a cognitive dissonance that's obvious. It's obviously like there of the imperialists, that this person is purported to want peace, yet you joined the imperialist army. Make that make sense. Make it make sense. You know, I kind of shudder to make this comparison, but when you're taught in school about revolutionaries, you're given that kind of dichotomy. One is villainized, the other is what's the opposite of villainized? You know what I'm saying? Like, one is upheld. So to me, that kind of sounds like the Malcolm X and MLK dichotomy. You know, the U.S. imperialists, the way they tell about Martin Luther King's story is that he wanted to unite, he wanted to integrate with the Americans. That's not his whole story, but that's the way that he's portrayed in imperialist propaganda. So in a way, Suzaku reflects that kind of option in the colonial construct. He represents the option of uniting with your oppressor. And obviously throughout this whole show, he's kind of held as like a moral high ground, as opposed to Zero, who is liberating the people, who, if you follow it to the logical extreme, he would end the colonial construct, therefore ending the need for war and shit, right? So but if you follow the logic of Suzaku's character, you're just somebody from an oppressed nationality oppressing other people. Get it? Like, it's crazy. So that's the two dichotomies that are given. And if you see the flyer that I did for this show, those are the two characters. Like, those are the two. Jose, I think that you were looking for was lionize, my brother. Right on. Yeah, one is lionized, the other one is villainized. But I ain't never heard that. But yeah, if you see the flyer, like, who would you think is good and who would you think is bad? Like, right off the gate, if I didn't tell y'all nothing. Another kind of band of characters, to me, they represent the bourgeoisie. Like, there's the imperialists that came into Japan, right? They're kind of like royalty, you know what I'm saying? They're all Lelouch's brothers and sisters. It's like a big ass royal family. They're sent to pretty much reign over the colonized country that is Japan. I forget what they're called. The Britannians. Pretty much their last name is like Britannia. You could see Cornelia. Cornelia is like a crazy fucking war criminal, you know, and she's very humanized when in this show. Like, you've seen her military exploits. Like, she's just murked people. She's just known for fucking people up, you know. But like, they'd be like, oh man, but she loves her sister though. Like, she was sad at one point, so it's all good. Another more interesting character from that family that is sent there to be like the king or queen of that colonized country is a character named Euphemia. Euphemia ends up falling in love with motherfucking Suzaku, right? And what Euphemia did was essentially, like, she's kind of, to me, when I saw her, I thought she was like Bernie Sanders or some shit. Like, she's the Bernie Sanders of Code Geass, because she's portrayed as like moral. Like, she's always like, oh, excuse me, and she don't call Japanese people 11s, you know, which is like bare minimum, like treating them like human, you know. But she eventually proposes that there should be an area where Japanese people can call themselves Japanese. It's called the special zone, or the special area. It's an area where you will be treated as a human if you're Japanese, and if you're Britannian, your privileges don't exist there. You know, that's what she offered, and she's supposed to be the moral one. Again, she's married to, well, she gets married to, damn, spoiler alert, my fault, fuck. She loves Suzaku, so they're both held in this kind of moral regard. But what kind of moral regard is this situation? You're still perpetrating the colonial situation. You're just making a space where the colonized subject has a chance at being kind of human. I would say that if they wanted to treat them like humans, you should give them back their nation. You should give them back their history. You know, you should withdraw your troops, but that's not even on the table. Essentially, that's not, like, she doesn't go there. The moral thing, to me, it sounds like the two-state solution of Israel. You know, and there go the feds. Like, this shit gonna have no fucking ability to boost or nothing. But Israel wants to be like, or Bernie Sanders wants a two-state solution, right? So essentially, what they're saying is, we invaded your whole country, but now that it's like now that it's not cool, now that like people look at it as bad, all right, we're gonna fall back. We're only gonna invade half your country. How is that progressive? If you're Palestinian, if you're Japanese in Code Geass, you know what I'm saying? And someone just came in and swept your whole shit, how much better does it sound like to just sweep like half your shit? You essentially still don't have a power, especially in Code Geass, where like the Japanese government like was wiped out. Like, they don't have an ability to defend themselves. The same thing as Israel. Israel is backed by the imperialist hegemon, aka the USA, you know? So whatever state the Palestinians can come up with without access to their resources will be subjected to the Israeli state. Black power. What's the comment saying? Y'all fucking with me or not? I'm gonna check over here, cause sometimes my phone be tripping, cause I'm working class. Black power. Woo woo. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. There's another sector of or another group of characters that is in Code Geass that literally have the best political line, in my opinion, and those are the Japanese nationalists. Now, in real life, Japanese nationalism is probably very reactionary, probably very fascistic, probably very imperialist. But in Code Geass, seeing as they're a colonized nation, it makes sense that you would be prideful of, you would be so prideful of being Japanese that you're willing to fight for your freedom. You feel me? So, there's the Japanese nationalists. They're called like the Brave Winds or something like that. But like, they're completely on point. They want to unite with the people, as opposed to Lelouch's movement, which is detached from the people. Lelouch's movement relies on Lelouch's brilliance and his magic powers, when in real life, guerrilla movements rely on, of course, the brilliance and bravery of the people who go out to war, but it also needs the people. Ask the Vietnamese, ask the Chinese, ask Jay. Whenever the state would come down on them for doing some real shit, they would like go back to where the people are at and just kind of vanish amongst them. Mao said like it would be like a fish in the sea. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gone because of that support. They need food, the people. They need resources, the people. That's where the power comes from. But since the imperialists can't understand the power of the people, can only understand military might or some sort of like notion of brilliance, they make it so the guerrillas have that power to give them a chance against the imperialists, you know? But the Japanese nationalists have that better, more revolutionary understanding, but they are depicted as incapable. Even though like they were holding it down for the longest, they're depicted as like something that couldn't hope to achieve revolution, which is what every liberal says, like, oh, we can't possibly defeat America. Look how much fucking bombs they have. Look how much boats they have. They got nukes. They got this and that. Like, the Vietnamese were just paddy farmers. Like, they were righteous working people. You know what I'm saying? But they defeated the imperialist military. You know? Like, I don't want to get into the specifics, but having the power of the people behind you is way more significant than having whatever kind of technology you think is so undefeatable. And I think that that's what those characters were meant to represent. I forget the leader of that character's name. Hold up. His name is Toto. Toto and his people were like Japanese nationalists who were like, man, we're fucking samurais. They're like, their robots had like samurai stuff on it, and even like this little boat, like this little thing of hair to like make them look like samurais, because samurais are like something culturally significant to them. So it was something important to them, and it was supposed to be like a symbol of their freedom. But they always got leaned until Lelouch came, you know, who's supposed to be like more brilliant and like pretty much like genetically better. What does that sound like? So, the bottom line of Code Geass is, Code Geass implies that in order to make a revolution, you need some sort of superpower, like the Geass, or some sort of, like, extra supernatural brilliance. which historically is just not true. Exceptionalism, exactly. You have to be some sort of like exceptional kind of thing, and like that's pretty much like an imperialist kind of understanding. Like even the idea of a genius is some slick fucking racist shit. Like when you say like, oh, this person is a genius, like that means that there's something about him that is fit to rule you. Like something inherent about him or her that is fit to subordinate others. And if you look at the history of like the idea of genius and stuff like that, it is tied to what's that shit called that the Nazis fucking love? Eugenics. Like this person is genetically superior to you, so therefore he's fit to lead. You know? So the notion of genius is bullshit. Like all that matters is that whatever capacity that you can is significant. Like whatever capacity you can help the revolution is significant. You know? We all have different strengths and weaknesses. It's all a matter of coming together and organizing in a way that puts us in the favorable condition. You know? On top of implying that you need these things to make a revolution, it also implies that through Suzaku's character and his moral high ground, that it would be best to assimilate into your oppressor's culture, you know, which is fucking bullshit. And we know because look at where we are right now. You know, we've had Obamas. We have more black billionaires, more billionaires than we've ever had before. And guess what? Where are we now? Black power. So that was my report on Code Geass. If you want to join the revolution, go to blackhammer.org/sign-up. If you want to join my team, aka social media, aka make dope ass flyers and like dope shows like this, you want to jump on Proper-gander, whatever it is you want to do. If you have ideas that will make us a better organization, hit us up. Join. Black Power. I'll see y'all later.